part of your small intestine, and the line should have gone right here, my pointer is the duodenum a retroperitoneal or intraperitoneal organ? As a retroperitoneal organ, yes, because only one side of it's covered. All right, so letter C. So now you know what those mean. Letter C, mesenteries, there's two areas where the peritoneum come together and they form a double membrane structure, which is the greater omentum. The greater omentum hangs from the stomach down, right underneath your skin and muscles. And then the lesser omentum hangs between the liver and the stomach. So let's look at that the other way, another way. In this diagram, here's your lesser omentum between the liver and the stomach, and the greater omentum. So the verbiage, or the terminology is the lesser omentum, right? So this is your inferior surface of the liver, and it connects to the lesser curvature of the stomach. So the stomach has two curves to it. The smaller one here is called the lesser curvature, and then the greater curvature. And so we would say the greater omentum hangs from the greater curvature of the stomach, okay? What's the omentum doing? It covers up your intestines, so it's a cushioning organ for the intestines. Because remember, your intestines, your bones don't cover them up, right? So that's an empty point for cushioning. You have your abdomen, your abdominal muscles, but after that, you just don't have anything. So this is an area where you have fat stored, and it helps to cushion. And then also here, for some reason, there's some fat there.
So insulation protection.
Yeah. So I have adipose storage insulation. So this really is, the greater omentum is kind of like an apron. So if you were to, here it is on a real image. So if you were to want to go in and look at someone's intestines, you would have to basically lift up, right? You lift up the greater omentum, and then you can see the organs. Okay. Now let's go to the mouth. All right. So any questions on so peritoneum and the layers? Okay. So let's look at the mouth. So beginning with the mouth, beginning with the tongue is skeletal muscle, right? We can control it. In the front of your tongue, there's a lingual frenulum. So if you look underneath your tongue, there's that line. I don't have a picture of it, I don't know why. But there's that line connecting to the bottom of your mouth. That's called the frenulum. And then the hyoid bone is what attaches the tongue inferiorly. And so letter A is the word papilla. And the bumps on your tongue are all papilla. So you can see these large papilla that form a little V or an upside down triangle, whatever. Upside down V or a triangle. Beyond that, behind here, those are the tonsils. So don't look at those, but everything in front of the tongue, those are papillae. So they're not taste buds. Where are your taste buds? Your taste buds are actually in the sides of your papilla. Yeah, so taste buds are microscopic. You cannot see them with the eye. They're going to be embedded within the crevices of your papilla. Let me show you another picture. Right here. Okay, so there's your papilla. You have taste buds along the side. You have nerves, of course, going to the taste buds. And so if you look at the blow-up picture of a taste bud, it's going to be just a little collection of chemoreceptors, right? We call them gustatory receptors because gustation is your sense of taste. So they're going to have hairs, and they're going to attach to chemicals in food, and then the nerve is going to connect to the brain. This is a histology slide of your taste buds, right? So we have a collection of support cells as well as gustatory cells. So if you look at a histology slide, so here's another slide that you'll be responsible for on your final exam. This is tongue. So you look at this on your final exam and go, oh, this is so easy. That's a tongue, right? And this is a papilla. And these pale things are taste buds, exactly, yeah. So when you mix the food with saliva, they are going, that food in the water in your saliva will seep down into the cracks, and then your chemicals in the food can contact those gustatory cells. Let's take a look at the different kinds of papillae. So you actually have 4 different kinds of papillae on the tongue. The most numerous is kind of a surprise. It actually does not have any taste buds. So the very first one I listed here is called the filiform papilla. It's going to appear white on the tongue. Let me show you the picture of the tongue. A real tongue. Right here, okay? So if you were to stick out your tongue and look in the mirror, most of your tongue is going to have a white coating on it, and that's not unusual, that's normal. So all that white is the keratinized points of the filiform papilla. So those those are those are the papilla. They don't have taste buds, but they micro grind the food, so kind of like a cat's tongue. So when you chew the food, those little rough areas of the tongue can also grind it up like fine sandpaper. Then if you look all over the tongue, you'll find areas where you can actually see these red bumps, right? So those would be other forms of papilla, like the fungiform. Fungiform and foliate, which do have taste buds. Okay, and then the last kind of taste bud that's in the list in your outline is called valate or circumvallate. These are only located in the very back portion. So these guys right here are valate or circumvallate. Some people also have these scattered throughout their oropharynx. So you see it listed, sometimes they're on the hard palate, sometimes they're on the epiglottis, and sometimes they're in the pharynx. So when you taste things in the back of your throat, like that's probably what you're using to taste that stuff. Okay, that's tongue. All right, and I should mention that if you wanted to see these really large valate papilla in the back of your tongue, you can, but you have to stick out your tongue really far, and it might help to have like a handheld mirror and another mirror, but you can see them. Okay, moving on to salivary glands. Okay, salivary glands. Here are your salivary glands. So you have 6, right? There's 3 on one side, 3 on the other. What does saliva have in it? Yes. So I listed a couple for you. I listed three or 4 things in bold. Your saliva has amylase in it as well as lipase. Those are 2 enzymes. Have you guys heard of amylase before? Amylase, it comes up in biology classes a lot sometimes. So amylase, yes. Amylase is an enzyme that digests starch. And starch is a chain of glucose molecules. So each one of my little hexagons here is a glucose molecule. And starch is just a chain of them, so it's a chain of sugar. And so what amylase does is it breaks that bond, right? So it liberates one free sugar, breaks the bond, liberates another sugar. So your body is like glucose, this simple sugar, right? It's taken up by your cells immediately, and you can use it for energy. What is the next enzyme we find? Lipase. What do you think this breaks down? Fats. Yes, fats, lipids. So the 2 most caloric food groups, right, your starches and your fats, are immediately broken down in your mouth. We are very good at extracting calories from our food, okay? So our whole alimentary canal throws out a lot of enzymes. We pull in as many calories as possible because in the past, right, in evolutionary terms, like there's periods where you don't eat. So when you do get food, you want to extract as much calories out of it as you can. So we immediately break down the most caloric food groups, so, the most energy-rich food groups, fats and starches in the mouth. The other thing that's here is histatin. Histatin has been known to heal wounds. If you think about what animals do, right, when they get a cut or a wound, they lick their wounds. And if you were to get a paper cut, you probably also put your finger in your mouth. So we have this kind of instinct to do that, and it might be because we have a wound healing molecule in there. But let's list some other things. Mucin makes it lubricating. And the word bolus is what you swallow. So once you chew your food and the food is mixed with saliva and formed a ball, that's called a bolus. All right, so in your list here, you have your salivary glands. So we have 2 parotid glands. These are the largest. You can see that they are the largest. They're right anterior to the ear. These guys also secrete a lot of water to dilute the acids that come into your mouth. So acids are bad for you. Why? In your mouth. What do acids do? They can cause.
They break down
They break down your enamel, actually. So your dentist will say, like, acidic drinks are not that great for your enamel. Your enamel is eroded with acid. So we have this we have a gland that will dump out a bunch of water to dilute your acid. So if you go home tonight and you want to try this out, right, if you put a lemon or a drop of vinegar on your tongue, you might feel the glands here kind of squeeze. Sometimes that happens if I eat like a Sour Patch Kid or something. You can feel it kind of work because it's squeezing the water into your mouth. You detected acid.
So let's say, like, for example, I don't know if anyone's had it for like pineapple. It like makes your tongue like really prickly to your tongue.
It has an enzyme that breaks down your, that's why you use it for meat tenderizing. Because the enzyme
yeah.
breaks down the meat, so it's kind of doing the same thing to your tongue. That's why when you eat too much of it, it does that.
It's marinating your tongue.
Yeah. That's why you can't put pineapples in Jello either. Like it won't. You know, if you want to, who has done this recently? No one does this anymore. But if you want to like make a Jello with fruit floating inside of it, like pineapple won't work because it'll eat the gelatin in your Jello, the protein gelatin.
It'll just like.
It'll just fall right out of it. Yeah.
So does the same thing kind of happen to your tongue? It like kind of causes.
It probably does. Yeah, it probably does start to break down some proteins on your tongue. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, so I think that's it. So just know that you also have a submandibular gland. This is the majority of your saliva comes from here, and then the sublingual right under your tongue. Moving on to teeth. Okay, real quick. You should also, on this chapter, be knowledgeable of the anatomy of the tooth. Everything is on this picture. So the tooth is broken down into three portions. The crown of the tooth is above the gum line. At the gum line, right, that's called the neck of your tooth. And then your root of the tooth is in the bone, right, either the mandible or the maxilla. And then so what's the gum called? The anatomical word for gum is gingiva, all right? And then if you look at the crown, we have enamel, we have dentin, and then we have the pulp. So the pulp is the inner cavity full of blood vessels and nerves. Enamel is the hardest substance in the body. If you read the little blurb I have, it's basically the same calcium hypoxyapatite crystals that are found in the bone. But remember, your bone also has collagen, fibers. It's not, the enamel's not bone, your tooth is not bone. So the enamel is, this is the interesting thing about enamel. When you form your adult teeth, right, as a 3 or 4-year-old or 5-year-old, that's your enamel for life, right? That you cannot replace enamel. So once it's gone, it's gone. And so as people age, the enamel gets thinner and thinner, right? And then the dentin might shine through. The dentin does have a yellow color. And so the yellow color might shine through, and so someone who's older, their teeth might be yellow. It might not be because they're a smoker or they drink coffee all the time. It's just that they're wearing down the enamel. And so there's no way you can like crest a white strip your way out of that. It's just, it's just there, right? So the dentin, another interesting thing about dentin is that it's porous. So and who knows why it's porous? It's a stupid design because if your enamel does get thinner over time, then the pores here will take any irritant on the outside or in your mouth and shoot it straight into the nerves, right? So temperature starts to be a problem. Like people have sensitive teeth with temperature, sensitive teeth with like sugar, for example. And that's because the dentin just takes all those external irritants and just funnels it towards the nerves. And then I asked my dentist something about dentin, and she was like, you know, those sensitive toothpastes, they actually contain a chemical in it that packs those little holes, those tubules of the dentin, and prevents anything from going into the nerve, the pulp cavity. Cool. But I think you have to keep using that sensitive toothbrush because, like, you know, if you don't use it, the molecule or whatever it is can come out, and so then you have a passageway again. All right, let's just take a look at the root canal. So the root canal is a physical anatomical structure. It's where the blood vessels and the nerves come into the tooth. And so when you have a root canal done at the dentist's office, that means that you had an infection, right? You had a cavity that then got into the pulp and it traveled down into the root canal. So now your dentist has to go into the root canal, drudge up and clean up all the infection, right? And then pack it with something else, right? Or you could lose your teeth, right? Depends on how severe the root canal, so we're infected. All right, lastly, we'll just talk about the cementum. So cementum or cement is the substance on the root of the tooth which ties into the periodontal ligament. Again, this looks familiar because we talked about this in the joints, like your tooth and sockets of gomphosis, and you can lose the teeth because the periodontal ligament is soft tissue. You can destroy it with an infection. I'm not going to have you guys learn the different teeth, but this is kind of a cool picture of just how the front of your teeth, the front of your mouth is full of sharp teeth. And this is for ripping and shredding our food, and then the back are flatter, and this is for grinding, right? So they're anatomically different for their different functions.
And scissors, canines, premolars, molars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just decided you needed to learn that for me. And then this is our deciduous teeth. So the first pair of teeth you get, right, as an infant is deciduous. You lose those for your permanent teeth. You can see the permanent teeth in the mandible here and also the maxilla waiting to erupt. We can stop here. All right. So see you guys on Monday. Have a good weekend.